Hey NHL fans, the wait is over. The National Hockey League gets underway on Tuesday, October 11th, and last season, 8 WagerTalk handicappers won over 50 units in the NHL. To celebrate the start of the season, we are offering a 7-day NHL package for only $49. Yes, that's only $7 a day, and it will be valid through Sunday, October 9th. Don't worry, NBA fans, we'll be running the same special for you next week.
Welcome into the best damn college football show. It's Wednesday. That means we're going live right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I am Drew Martin, joined by Ralph Michaels and Rob Veno of WagerTalk.com. Blessed enough to be joined by two of the smartest minds in the sports betting world. Going around the horn here. Ralph Michaels at CalSportsLV on Twitter. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. Ralph, how's your day going, buddy?
Oh, doing great. Looking to release my first college football 5% totals play in 11 months. Those plays have gone 11-3, so excited. I'll be posting that late tonight or first thing in the morning, depending on the line. But looking for a great weekend. Excited that we now have more value with the NHL and NBA going as well. So end of October, November, a crazy time for handicappers, but I love it.
Absolutely. I can't believe it. Basketball is about to start, but football in full swing. We got 3 games, 3 good ones we're talking to. 3 of the better games on the slate. NC State, Syracuse, LSU, Florida, and Penn State, Michigan coming up, guys. Best bets at the end. The guy that knows a whole lot about college football, Rob Veno at Rob Veno Sports on Twitter. Robbie, welcome in, buddy.
How are you today, Drew? Good to be here with you and Ralph once again on a Wednesday. Doing what we do, going over a few games here and trying to get the viewers pointed in the right direction here to get paid. Ralph started talking about all the stuff that's going on in the sports world, and real credit, Drew, because you and I were just talking about this on every game on the board and how many sports that a lot of us end up covering and handicapping, but we all have to throw one out. The guys who leave NHL on their plate, God bless them, because that's the one I kick out. There's just no way I'd have enough time for all this basketball, football, and the NHL as well. But we're here for college football, so let's go ahead and see if we can get paid here this week.
Well said, Robbie. And I think your mic was a little bit low. I mean, we could hear you, but if you could turn it up a little, it might help the listeners. We got first game up here, guys, in the ACC. We're talking NC State and Syracuse, 3:30 Eastern kick here. Ralph, come to you first, man. 43 being the total. Syracuse -3.5 in the Dome. Syracuse is now 5-0, ranked number 18. There's only 14 unbeaten teams remaining, Ralph, and the 'Cuse is one of them. Now they're going up against NC State, biggest test of the season. NC State, I believe their only loss is against Clemson, a good Clemson team. So this is a heck of a matchup, man. What do you think in both side and totals-wise here, Ralph?
Well, I can tell you this, guys. The last time Syracuse hosted a game where both teams were ranked, I had hair. 2001 is the last time Syracuse hosted where both teams were ranked. But, let's talk about the question marks in this game, and obviously that's Devin Leary. He got KO'd. And you go to Dorn, you look at his quotes, and Dorn said, well, he could be out a week, he could be out 6 weeks, he's a tough guy. But then Dorn also said that I trust this kid so much that if he doesn't take one snap in practice this week and he's ready to go on Saturday, he will start. So that's the question mark for me. I think his injury is in this line. So while I'm not going to give you a huge opinion on the game, I'm going to say that if you like NC State, bet it now, because if Leary is in the game, I think this goes down to 1 or maybe even a pick 'em. Let's talk about the situation. I think this is the biggest mismatch of maybe the entire season. Syracuse off Virginia, off Wagner, and off a bye game. NC State off a road game against Clemson, and then a come from behind where they trailed Florida State 17-3. Their quarterback gets KO'd, and they still win the game. I mean, that's the biggest mismatch you have. The other biggest mismatch is strength of schedule. Syracuse is plus 170 yards per game, but they've played the 118th schedule. NC State plus 74 yards per game. They've played the 59th schedule. And guys, I'm getting those numbers from the WagerTalk stat profile. It's on my homepage. It's in rotation order. It has yards per game diff, points per game diff, yards per play diff, plays per game, turnovers, and strength of schedule. So WT.buzz/RM. NC State 2 and Syracuse, is as excited as can be. They're going to have a crowd. It's going to be loud. But in this situation, I'm going to just give you a lean with the under. I think even if Leary is there, you saw him run the ball 46 times against Florida State. And this Syracuse team that used to pass the ball around against Wagner, when they run and they have the lead, they ran 39 times, only passed 18 times last week. So they're averaging over 40 rush attempts per game. I think both teams feel the pressure. I think it's going to be a running game, and I do lean with the other. But again, if Leary comes back, I think this line's going to drop a few. So if you like NC State anyway, I would grab them now.
Robbie, what are you liking here in Syracuse on Saturday?
Yeah, first off, let me make sure you can hear me. You got me good there, Drew?
Yeah. You're good, man.
Okay. To Ralph's point, the power ratings I keep showed me that with Devin Leary, NC State on the road would be a 1-point favorite. So we're seeing Syracuse 3.5, odds makers accounting for, and the money that came in thereafter accounting for Leary as 4.5 points. Here's what we know. The backup is Jack Chambers. Played a little after Leary got hurt in the last game. Kids from a grad transfer from Charleston Southern. He's got plenty of college statistics, but they're Charleston Southern statistics. The difference between these two guys, Leary's the better thrower. Chambers is the better runner. It wouldn't matter to Robert Anai, Syracuse's offensive coordinator, because he's well-versed in both forms of spread, run, or pass. I think where NC State is concerned, that they're probably going to, if it's Chambers, it will be more of a quarterback-incorporated run-style offense here. They're not going to turn this kid loose in the Carrier Dome with all that noise and have him throw the football, keep the playbook as open as they would with Devin Leary. Devin Leary's situation is pretty simple right now. Folks that cover the team seem to think that he probably won't go. However, Devin Leary himself wants to go. So we're going to see. I think what Ralph said earlier probably fits best. Dave Doran trusts him. Whatever Devin Leary decides on Saturday will probably be the case because, as Ralph mentioned, Leary doesn't have to take a snap in practice in order to play in this game. So you probably get two different style games. I would say this. The first half is wide open for Syracuse here. If, in fact, Jack Chambers is the quarterback. NC State will play offense as close to the vest as you can possibly play it to get him accustomed to what's going on early in that particular venue. I would have loved to have Devin Leary in here because I'd like to bet against Syracuse. Ralph talked about the teams that they've played. My strength of schedule numbers show that NC State's played a strength of schedule 10 points higher on average than Syracuse has this season. And when I watch Syracuse play, guys, having Garrett Schrader run the football as much as he did in the season opener against Louisville, remember, I won't even say it, Ralph, because I think you were on Louisville. I don't want to bring up old wounds. But most didn't think that Syracuse would play a good game in that game. And they break out Schrader running the football. They go ahead and rip Louisville. And, since then, teams have seen Schrader on film, and his numbers are going down, down, down. He's getting hit harder and harder and harder. And when I watch him play, I wonder how long he's going to last. NC State's a very good defense and a hard-hitting defense. And I wonder if he makes it through this game entirely. So there's so many arguments on both sides of the fence here that I would say this. If I was going to play it today, and I haven't, I would probably look Syracuse first half, thinking that Robert and I, with basically 2 weeks to prepare, a bye week plus Wagner, would have something in store for the NC State defense, which, by the way, guys, will be without a starting safety due to a targeting call last week. He'll miss the first half of this game. So maybe there's enough hole in the secondary to make a play for Schrader down the field. But that's about all I can come up with right now is maybe Syracuse first half in this venue.
Robbie, I like what you said there about the Syracuse quarterback, Schrader. I have that same thing in my notes. He's kind of playing with fire, the way that he plays, Robbie, the way that he runs around there, because he's a big, like, lanky white dude, running around. He's sort of fast, but he's not, like, quick, He doesn't have that, like, Johnny Manziel, like, shake to him. And I feel like going up against a tough defense, he's going to get knocked out here soon. So he's kind of – I really do, Robbie. I think he's kind of playing with a little bit fire. I like what you said there, man.
Yeah, I noticed it in a couple of games, Drew. He took a hit in one game where he was taken out. Maybe it was the Purdue game, I forget. But, yeah, eventually these teams see this stuff on tape. And, I have a lot of faith in Robert and I to adjust game plans. But this kid's going to get hit one time and he's not going to come back in. And Syracuse is not in that great a shape with a backup quarterback, guys. If Schrader goes down, they're in trouble. So we'll see what happens here. Big game for both. Syracuse, I think, is still undefeated in the East and still has a shot at Clemson if they can get by this game.
Yeah, that will be a fun one. The 3:30 slate on Saturday, guys, is loaded. So hopefully you got a bunch of TVs. Not too much going on because a lot of games to watch midday on Saturday. Speaking of one at night, a good one here in the Swamp. We're going to head to the SEC. LSU at Florida. Robbie, we're seeing the Gators -3. Actually, the threes are mostly taken out here. -2.5 as we've seen some LSU money. 52 being the total. Of course, we get two new head coaches here. Brian Kelly, Billy Napier. LSU off of that big loss to Tennessee. Brian Kelly had, 2 fourth down calls. Kind of, I guess, questionable, aggressive, didn't go his way. And Florida, to tell you the truth, Rob, I watched a lot of that Missouri game. They didn't look all that great. Missouri kind of could have snuck up and won that game if they didn't kind of hold on there till the bitter end. But what are you thinking here in the Swamp Saturday night, Robbie?
Yeah, in that game, Drew, Florida lost total plays 72-46. Florida lost total yardage 370-297. So you're right. And I mean, we've seen red flags surrounding Florida since that, misleading win against Utah opening night. I probably said it too many times, but I'll say it one more time in case we have one new viewer here. That game against Utah had the ball 4 times in the second half, and they gained 302 yards on 4 possessions. Probably should have had 4 touchdowns. They only wound up with 2. They got stoned at the 1 on 1 possession. And of course, the game ended with an interception with them on the 6-yard line. Since then, I've wondered about Florida's defense, and I think it's the biggest separator in this game is the defensive side of the football. I like LSU's defense. The most they've given up all season long is 24 points. They've been very good on run defense. They've actually played, Mississippi State and Florida State, 2 teams capable of scoring points. So I like what they're doing on defense. And I think the other thing that probably separates these two guys is the quarterback position. Anthony Richardson may be the more gifted of the two, but he's the more turnover prone of the two. He's thrown 7 interceptions. Jaden Daniels, the Arizona State transfer, has only thrown 1. And in a game like this, when you're on the road in what, the point spread tells us should be a hotly contested game, you probably want the quarterback who protects the ball better, which in this case is Daniels. LSU, one more time, guys. If I was betting head coaches, I'd probably be on Napier, but I just don't think at this point in time, from what I've seen out of Florida, that they have everything together. What they're doing there is still building. I think LSU's got a much brighter second half of the season ahead for them because all they have to do is start clicking a little bit more on the offensive side. I saw Brian Kelly interviewed this week talking about the offense, and he, for one, thinks they're close. That could be coach speak. That might not. But I do think that when you come in and you implement a new starting quarterback, you implement a new offense, it does take a little bit of time. But they seem to be a little bit closer to me all around than Florida is. So I would take the points here. Of course, now that you're under 3, it's not the same. At 2.5, do you want to just get involved money line if you like LSU and leave the 2.5 aside? Maybe. if LSU does start to click on offense here, this total could be in jeopardy because I think it could get over the number. Florida's been over the number 4 times already this year. And like I said earlier, I question their defense. So I think LSU could find their way to 30 in this contest. We'll see how it goes, but I like the LSU side plus points.
Ralph, coming to you next, something Rob said about Florida and their defense, something I noticed against Missouri is like, they're good, they get pressure, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, there's a wide receiver, 25 yards, nobody's even around them. It's like it's almost like they take plays off. I can't really put my finger on it, but this Gator team, I guess I would just say good, but inconsistent. But at the same time, I mean, this LSU offense, it's not like they've been able to really do anything all season long. So I don't know if I can trust them on the road. Ralph, what do you like in here, Tigers and Gators?
They had 279 yards at home against Kentucky, 297 yards at home against Missouri, and then put up 594 at Tennessee. That's inconsistent. I'd say, hell yeah, that's inconsistent. As we said, Anthony Richardson with a 5-7 ratio, that's not going to get it done. I disagree with Rob a little bit. I think this game is going to be an under game. You look at Florida and what they've allowed in points. Yeah, they allowed 38 to Tennessee, and they allowed 26 to Kentucky, but they only allowed Kentucky 272 yards. I think Napier's got to say, listen, Anthony Richardson, you cannot make the throws like you do, and we got to run the ball more. You look at LSU, and Jaden Daniels is the leading rusher as well. So, he has 76 rush attempts and 177 passes. So they're not afraid to let him run. Yeah, I can talk. Going back to the stat profiles, guys, this is a perfect example of what to look at. I do use a Sagarin strength of schedule, and part of the reason I do that is because Sagarin includes all of the FBS games. So if you say a team is last in strength of schedule, you would think they're 131. But there's a lot of teams in the 170s still where the FBS teams have played, an FCS team has played a higher or a better schedule than some of these FBS teams. So it's important to note that. But strength of schedule in this two, LSU 27, Florida 29, almost exactly even. LSU plus 100 yards per game, Florida plus 23 yards per game. Now, you want to talk about double revenge. There's probably not a bigger series to talk about double revenge. I threw this out on Twitter earlier today. There's been 16 times since 2007 where a team has pulled back-to-back upsets as a dog of 12 or more. Remember, 2 years ago, Florida only had a loss to A&M. They were positioned where if they won out, they could have gone to the playoffs. They were a 23.5-point dog. LSU beats them. What happens last year when they have revenge as being a 23.5-point favorite and losing? They were a 12.5-point favorite, and they lose again to LSU. So, the teams have been 7 and 9 ATS the next week, so there's no real numbers to share with you. But that has to be, even if this is a new head coach and it's a different team, the Florida players that are there certainly have to remember losing that. I look at Florida's pace of play. They are the 5th slowest team. They're averaging 59 plays per game. Only New Mexico State, that amazingly crappy Iowa team, and Colorado State, have fewer plays per game ran. I think LSU going on the road, winning at Auburn was great, but you only put up 270 yards, and that Auburn win keeps looking worse and worse by the week. You played Florida State, you put up 23 points, 348 yards. I do have to mention, not that I'm going to bet this, but Florida State, you trailed at halftime 7-3. Mississippi State, you trailed at halftime 13-7. Auburn, you trailed at halftime 17-14. Tennessee, you trailed at halftime 23-7. You want to talk about slow starts? If you like Florida, might I take part of the full game wager, bet it first quarter or first half? I might do that. I'm not on Florida, so I won't be doing that. Don't get me wrong. The stat profile, the better quarterback has me leaning LSU despite being the double revenge mode. And I do lean with the under in this game as well.
And Ralph, to kind of add on to what you were saying, maybe that Auburn win being one of their better wins. I watched every play of that game, and granted, I am an Auburn guy, so it might be a little biased. I felt like Auburn should have won that game, Ralph. I really do. They lost the turnover battle by like 4 turnovers as well, so it might be a little bit misleading. Ralph, before we move on, last question. Robbie and his analysis answered it. Interested in your opinion here. Better coach, Brian Kelly or Billy Napier?
I am actually, although I think Napier's a better coach, being a ULL, having ULL experience and now being an SEC team and having to prep your team for these big games, I think he's going to need some time to get in that mode. So because you have a quarterback, because you played in many bigger games, I'd give a slight edge to Kelly in this situation, but I don't think that would be an overall ranking at the start of a season.
I like it. Okay, good stuff, Ralph. Yeah, it's a tough question. I don't know who I would choose either. I think both of them are really good coaches, but I think what you said has a lot of weight there, Ralph. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Johnny Outlaw in the house. RJ, welcome in as well. Yeah, we got Best Damn College Football Show going each and every Wednesday here. 3:00 Eastern time. We got one game left. We'll get best bets at the end here, guys. So please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below where you agree, where you disagree. Let us know who you think's the better coach, Billy Napier or Brian Kelly, who you would rather choose if you were had the position of choosing the next head coach for a school. But next game up here in the Big Ten, kicking us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific here. Ralph, we get Penn State and Michigan in the Big House, -7, a full touchdown here. That is Big Blue at home, 51.5 being the total. Penn State off of a bye. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing with James Franklin, but they are 11-4 against the spread on the road, 4-1 their last 5 as a road dog. I kind of like Sean Clifford here. I was looking towards the dog. Interested in your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to start off with a system here. And again, difference between a trend or an angle, those are team specific. A system means any team in that situation applies. So, does Penn State have revenge? Normally, I only consider revenge if a team lost as a favorite. You were expected to win and you didn't win, then you have revenge. But when I went back and looked to the database, teams that are off a home loss, like Penn State was in their last meeting against Michigan, and now they're an away dog off a bye, when in that previous loss they were a favorite or a dog up to 4. So I'll get Rob's opinion as well to see what he thinks. But when a team is off a home loss, when they were a favorite or a small dog like Penn State was to Michigan, and they're an away dog this time and off their bye, they've covered over 62% the last 8 years. So a solid situation with a huge sample size. So maybe when I say a team only has revenge if they lost as a favorite, I sort of put a Penn State home loss when they were like a 2-point dog last year. I would put that in that favorites role. So I do apply that 62% angle in this role. Michigan, what do we have? I don't know. They played the number 111 schedule. Yeah, they're plus 212 yards per game. McCarthy has a 9-1 ratio. But this Penn State defense, they had a lot of sacks against Central Michigan. They had 6. They had 2 or less in the other, but I don't think they had to pressure much because the Northwestern game, they didn't pressure much. Auburn, they didn't have to pressure much. And Ohio, they didn't. So they didn't have to send the blitzes. It's not going to make my card for this reason. You look at Penn State, and the best opponent they faced was Purdue on the road. That was a game they trailed. That was a game they got outgained. I thought it was a game that Purdue, obviously it went down to the wire. They had a shot to win it. But Penn State's toughest competition, you could say Maryland at home, I don't know, at Iowa, at Indiana, no real test. I think this is going to be another low-scoring game. I think Penn State's defense, their rush defense that's holding foes to 81 yards per game and 3.0 yards per carry, I think puts McCarthy in a different position, which he hasn't been in. So I will lean Penn State, and again, I will lean under in this game.
Robbie, what are you liking in the Big House on Saturday, man?
Well, I start by being conflicted in this game, Drew, because, I told you this on every game on the board. I never bet a game based solely on my power rating. Never have, probably never will. I just don't know that it's something that you look at and run to the window with. I think it's something that you look at, and if you see a difference, you further investigate the game. My eyes tell me I'm supposed to be on Penn State +7 here. My power ratings tell me Michigan at home is 11.5 better. So the reason why you keep these things is just to keep you grounded. But from there, I have to take a look at the game, which is what we do on this show each and every week. And I'll say this, neither one of these defenses answered the bell when they were tested. Ralph hit on both games. Penn State's, the best offense they played so far this year was Purdue. And Penn State allowed 31 points and 426 yards at Purdue. Very good, a unique passing offense, very difficult to defend, especially in your first game of the season, especially in a blackout at West Lafayette, nationally televised. That was a tough game to go on the road with. Michigan, the only good offense they played all season long was Maryland. And Maryland got 27 points and 397 yards. And Talia Tagovailoa, who has not looked like a quarterback who is able to go through progressions very rapidly in his career prior to this season, looked really good throwing the football against Michigan. So you got two defenses that were tested really once by good offenses. Remember, Maryland's got a prolific wide receiving core, 4 guys that could end up in the NFL. So they were both tests. Neither one really answered the bell. So that's kind of a wash between the two. I think what Penn State brings to the table, and again, I think Ralph hit on this a little bit, but what Penn State brings to the table here is explosiveness in both the running game and the passing game offensively. The additions of Singleton and Allen, the 2 freshmen in the backfield for Penn State, is a real difference maker. These guys, when they touch the ball, there's a possibility they're going 80 yards for a touchdown every time they touch it. That's how explosive they are. And then when they throw the football, Parker Washington's an NFL receiver. Mitchell Tinsley was the best receiver on Western Kentucky last year and is really making a mark here. Lambert Smith, Strange, all these guys. Very, very good receiving core. So I think Penn State has explosiveness in both aspects on offense. I'm not so sure about that with Michigan. And again, this is to Ralph's point about McCarthy being put in a different position in this game. Penn State's got a really good run defense. And should they shut the run down, and should they shut McCarthy from being able to run the football the way he has, and he's got to throw the football, I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the Michigan receiving core so far. I'm not sure that he can be a consistent and accurate passer to this point. So I'd have to give an edge to Penn State. I'd give an edge to Penn State and just say that they've played in tough venues. Maybe Auburn's not what they once were. But when you go to Auburn, and when you go to Purdue, I mentioned this, the circumstances surrounding that game. I think those are 2 pretty tough venues to go to and get wins, which they did. So venue's not going to bother them. James Franklin's been trying to make the climb in the Big Ten for, 8 years now. So maybe this is his opportunity to finally make the climb. The best defense that Michigan played all year long, and again, Ralph told you how weak their schedule has been. The best defense they faced was Iowa, and they did next to nothing against Iowa. Season low, 327 yards. Ran it up against all the bad defenses. When they were faced with a good one, didn't do much. I think Penn State's as good as Iowa defensively. So I know it's on the road, and I know my power ratings say a little bit differently, but I think I'm going to be on Penn State +7.
I like it, Robbie. I'm with you guys. I could lead off the best bet section here. Sticking here in the big house. I like Penn State, the Nittany Lions, guys, +7. Also sprinkle a little bit there on the money line, +225. Risk 100 to win 225 for Penn State to win outright. I think the dog is barking. Robbie touched on a lot of it here. Just throw out a couple stats. We get James Franklin 11-4 against the spread on the road here. The last 15. He's also 4-1 his last 5 as a road dog. Got that from Mark Lawrence's playbook, guys. And really, their quarterback, Sean Clifford, this is a guy I think is underrated. I really do. You watch him play. He's got that kind of eye of the tiger. He's a tough kid. He'll take a hit, come right back, make a good throw a good ball. Just a couple years ago, they went into the big house. Now, granted, no fans, big difference, but they did win this game. in Michigan. I think they go back and do it again here, guys. Put the 7 in our pocket, sprinkle a little bit there on the money line. I like Penn State here. 2 of the better teams in college football. So why not take the points? I think it's a slugfest. I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions kicking us off on Saturday. Throw it over to Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. Check him out here on the Best Damn College Football Show each and every Wednesday on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Also, I believe, Ralph, you got a segment going on Bet On It. Where else can people find you, man?
Yeah, did the college football show yesterday, Bet On It segment with Kelly, and do a show called Family Affair with Joe and Dion D'Amico and my son Jeff every Friday on Sports Memo. So we break down 4 games as well. So a little fun time there to get a little screen time with my son, who is JM Sports over at Sports Memo. Drew, Rob, if Drew cuts me off here, it's been nice seeing you. I was happy to do the show because I'm going to fade Auburn this week. So if Drew gets too mad at me, I don't want him yelling at me. And I am going to have Ole Miss on my card, guys. I am shocked at this line. I make this line 4 to 5 points higher. And you look at the Ole Miss rush attack that's averaging 242 yards per carry and 242 yards per game and 5.6 yards per carry against an Auburn D over the last 4 weeks that's allowing 214 yards per game rushing and 5.2 yards per carry. You have an Auburn team that was physically mauled against Georgia, now playing a second road game. I think Auburn, you look at having played LSU and Georgia and now going to Ole Miss and the pace Ole Miss is going to play, I think Ole Miss runs away in the second half in this game. And like I said, I'm giving it as the best bet, and it is going to be an actual client release on my All Access card.
Like it, Ralph. Yeah, it's a tough one to hear, man. My War Eagles. Ralph, but a question for you. If this does happen, they got a bye on deck. Do you think Brian Harsin is shown the door Saturday night, Sunday morning?
Oh, I think so. I think no question. Unless he, I don't even know if I don't even think if he covers but doesn't win. If he has a good game, I don't think that's enough to keep him in here. I think they say, we need to make a change. And we're seeing more and more coaches getting jettisoned early, because when you bring in that new coach, all of a sudden, you don't want to start losing recruits that might have been coming to you and then now get disenchanted because you start a season and all of a sudden you go 3-8. You could blow that season. If you have a new coach, even if you don't win those games, I think it gives recruits hope as long as they like the new coach coming in. So with the modern day and the transfer portal, I think that's why we're seeing more and more coaches leaving or getting jettisoned earlier and earlier in the season.
Yeah, something to watch there, guys. Rough season, no doubt, for Auburn. Throw it over to you, Robbie. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. Number 1 in the NBA. 2 of the last 3 years, Robbie? Where else can people find you, man? What else you got going on, and any best bets for us?
Well, the best place to find me is at WagerTalk.com, right where we are, right now doing this show. Guys, all the media content that we produce each and every week. If you're looking for a game and you're looking for game analysis on video, you're going to find it at WagerTalk.com. If you're not a member currently, go ahead and drop your email address. It's free to get in. Get access to all the video content that we provide, the written content that we provide. If you're looking for selection packages, mine are up and available on my homepage at wagertalk.com. Drew, best bet, and that was extremely kind of you to not cut Ralph from the show, even though he's going to play against Auburn here. I think that was, you took the higher road there. I'm going to join you, though. I'm going to be on Penn State here. I know what my numbers say, but I'm going to add to what I already laid out there. Which bothers me about Michigan is the fact that they played such a weak schedule, and they've only committed 3 turnovers in 400 snaps against the weak schedule. But what's bothersome is that they've only got 7 takeaways against some pretty bad football teams offensively. 7 takeaways in 383 snaps against them. I don't think they're going to get takeaways. Penn State has 12 takeaways on the season. I think there's a lot of fundamental reasons to like Penn State here. I think the teams are far more equal than the 7-point number indicates. Maybe Ann Arbor, in people's home field value is larger than what I would consider it to be in a game like this. But I'm going to take Penn State Take the 7. I'm with you here, Drew. I think it's no more than a field goal game one way or the other.
Cool, Robbie. And I just meant, where can people find you, like on the Wager Talk YouTube channel? I know you do at least a couple more shows, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're on. Hey, let's hit best damn college football, or every game on the board. We're on best damn college football, so I get them all mixed up. Every game on the board, Drew. We do every single college football game. About 5 of us with you as host each and every week. Always a fun segment to do. And be ready for the NBA. It starts next Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'll be a regular on the cast of the Wager Talk NBA Daily show. So you can find us here, multiple times during the week here at WagerTalk.com.
He's Robbie Veno, Penn State. We got Ralph Michaels going hotty-toddy on Ole Miss, laying the number there. I am Drew Martin, back on the Nittany Lions as well. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Huge shout out to the chat box. As always, RJ, Johnny Outlaw, you guys joining us. Feel free to comment below. The question, who you like better, coach? Also, hey, anything you're looking to bet this week, and any questions as well, we'll answer them on next week's show. For Rob Veno, Ralph Michaels, check them out, wagertalk.com. I'm Drew Martin. Please smash that like button. Cash those tickets.
Hey NHL fans, the wait is over. The National Hockey League gets underway on Tuesday, October 11th, and last season, 8 Wager Talk handicappers won over 50 units in the NHL. To celebrate the start of the season, we are offering a 7-day NHL package for only $49. Yes, that's only $7 a day, and it will be valid through Sunday, October 9th. Don't worry, NBA fans, we'll be running the same special for you next week.